Welcome back. My name is Brandon, and today we're going to be working on some commercial landscape equipment. Customer brought me this piece. This fits on top of a leaf vac slash blower. There's a big tube that connects to a motor. The motor creates a vacuum, sucks up all the leaves and the debris, and then it pushes it out through this discharge chute. It comes out the end of this. It's pretty good size. And then this goes inside a big container like a hopper. This is actually attached to a dump trailer, and all the debris goes inside of the dump trailer. It's got sides on it. At the front of the trailer there's an aluminum bulkhead. The problem is that the height of this is too high to line up to the hole that's currently on the trailer. So we've got to cut this flange off. The reason I'm not making a new flange is because I don't want to have to repunch any of these holes and make them square. I'm going to start out by verifying that this flange is 90 degrees to this face. So I'll take my digital angle finder and set it on the flange, saying that that's 0.8 degrees, 0.9. We'll zero it. So now that's referencing that as 0. When we bring it over here, this should read 90. You can see how I've got that sitting on there. 89.3. 89.3. So now I know that this and this isn't perfect. It's close enough, but if the customer ever said, well, you know, this was perfect to that when I gave it to you, I can say, well, no, it wasn't. It was 89.3 degrees because we actually know what that is. We said that we need to come up from the bottom 6 1/8. This flange is an 1/8 inch thick, so we're going to come up 6 inches, which will give us our 6 1/8 off the table. That's how much we got to take out right there. That is our scrap.
The hardest part for me on any project is coming up with the way overall that I want to do the project. You know, how am I going to mark it out? How am I going to lay it out? How am I going to cut it? As with this piece, it's got a bunch of different curves. I'm trying a bunch of different things, and here I'm actually using a straight edge and a scribe to try to get a nice straight line.
Now I've got real crisp scribe lines that I can use to make my cut. I'm actually, now that I look at it, probably going to cut it with a reciprocating saw. Maybe even a circular saw, I'm not sure. Move this out of my way a little bit. Give us some room for our saw. Yeah, that'll work. Yeah, I think I'm going to use a circular saw to cut this.
Initially, when I looked at this project, I was hoping that my portable bandsaw, the throat would be wide enough to cut this, but it wasn't. And I don't own a horizontal bandsaw, but that would have been really ideal for this. You could also use a grinder with a cutoff wheel, but I really don't like using a cutoff wheel in the shop if I can help it, just because they create so much dust. A reciprocating saw would have worked for this, but this circular saw, I find I use this thing more and more every single time. It's like 125 bucks. This came as a kit for a track saw. It comes with like 3 feet of track in this saw for 120 bucks, and I use it all the time. Now here, I couldn't get the circular saw in there, so I actually had to use a grinder. There's just too much of an angle, so I didn't have the clearance to use the circular saw.
And it may or may not matter, but I'm going to put match marks on these parts, so I know that when I weld this flange back on, that the flange goes with this mark to here. These could be off a little, I doubt it, but that way I know it's lined up perfectly the way it's supposed to be. We still got a little bit of prep to do to this, and now we got to remove this from the flange.
You're probably watching this and thinking to yourself, that looks kind of sketchy. And you're right, it is. I've been using power tools for years, and while this technique works for me, it's definitely not something that I would recommend for someone just starting out. Experience teaches you how to handle the unexpected, like kickback or blade drift, but when you're new, those surprises can be dangerous. It takes time to develop the muscle memory and the instincts to make micro adjustments on the fly. So if you're building your skills, take it slow. Follow the safety rules and get comfortable with the basics and work your way up. Power tools are unforgiving, and confidence without experience can get you hurt. Precision and control come with time, and there's no shortcut to that.
Now we can discard this piece. Then we just got to clean up this flange. And we can see we've got our mark right here, and that's going to line up to that. So this will go on just like that. So let's get this cleaned up with a flap disc, get all the paint off it, Same thing here. Clean this all up, get all the paint off it. Normally whenever I do a bunch of grinding, I like to do it outside. Keep all the dust outside and keep all the fumes outside. But today it's snowing out pretty heavily, as you can see, so we're doing it in the workshop.
For those of you watching this that are just starting out, just keep in mind that experience doesn't come overnight. It's earned through repetition, mistakes, and the determination to keep going when things get tough. When you watch a seasoned craftsman, it might look effortless, but what you don't see are the years of trial and error and the countless hours of practice and the moments of frustration that they had to push through. Mastery is built on persistence. You can't rush it. You've got to embrace the grind. Stay patient and be willing to learn from every setback. The people who get good at their craft are the ones who refuse to quit when it gets hard. So keep showing up, keep putting in the work, and trust that every project, every mistake, and every success is making you better. Over time, the skills that once felt difficult will become second nature, and you'll look back and realize just how far you've come.
We've got everything all cleaned up. I've cleaned back the paint. You saw me using a wire brush so I could get it out of these areas where the original weld was. I've gone around with a flap disc, cleaned the inside so there's no rough edges or burrs. Prep is what takes the longest on any welding project. It's getting everything ready. The better you prep, the better job you're going to get. So what I'm going to do is center it left to right on this and then front to back, so this way to this way. I'm going to make it equal distance that way and equal distance the other way. So let's do that. Let's get the welder all set up and get this tacked together, and then we'll get this welded out and we will be done with this. This is my setup at 147 amps, wire feed of 420 inches per minute, 20.5 volts. I'm using 30 thousandths solid wire and 15 CFH of gas. I want to show you guys something. You see how I have a tack here and I have a tack here. So this whole back side, as you can see, I can go up a little bit if I need to. But if you look at this, it's going like downhill. It's not completely level. Let me show you why these are so awesome. So we hit 0. Now that we have this zeroed, it believes that this is level. Now we come over to this side, attach it to that. Where are we? 89.4. That's just a great way of doing something when you need to have something at one plane and then something at another plane. It's actually a little bit better because we were 89.4 and it was 89.3. So our setup is a little bit closer to 90 than the factory's was. But we'll see how that lands once we're all done welding it. But for right now, we're all good. We can get a couple more tacks on it, then we can flip it over and weld it all along this edge. I made a little error, guys, and I had this part on upside down, so I had to cut my 2 tacks off, flip it around, so that now all my ground out metal is on this side. I just didn't have this on right. We're back to normal now. Got these tacked on the inside, nice and solid. I can flip this over, get it all welded out. We'll double check it. We'll get this all clamped up again. Double check it to make sure that we're 90 from that to here. All right, we'll check it one last time. We're sitting on the flange. We're at 0. Stick it on over there. 89.6. So we're almost 90. We're better than we were from the factory.
Throughout this video, you'll see me checking the flanges repeatedly to make sure they're square to one another. I know it might seem like I'm doing this a lot, but the reason I'm so focused on it is simple. Taking the time to ensure everything is properly squared now will save me a lot of trouble later. If I didn't check it and something would have warped, it would force me to cut everything apart and redo the work. That not only wastes a ton of time, but it also costs me extra money in materials. Might feel like a small step, but it makes a huge difference in the long run, ensuring that the project stays on track and that I avoid unnecessary setbacks. It's one of those moments where taking a little extra care up front pays off in the end.
You can see how I'm wrapping my corners so that we don't end up with cracks.
Throughout my career, I've experienced my fair share of eye injuries. Not too long ago, despite wearing safety glasses, I had metal particles wash into my eyes during a shower. The debris settled in my hair during work and found its way into my eyes later. This incident was a stark reminder of the importance of protective gear. When I was younger, safety wasn't always my top priority. However, as I've gotten older, I'll be 55 this summer, I've come to realize just how critical it is to prioritize safety. That's why I now consistently wear a face shield or a welding cap when cutting and grinding. These tools provide an essential barrier for me against flying debris, ensuring that the particles don't settle in my hair or come into contact with my skin. I've upgraded my welding helmet for this. It's an advanced welding helmet that features a flip-up shade. It allows me to have crystal clear vision when fitting up and inspecting my work without the hassle of removing my hood, which is keeping me efficient and safe. The helmet also incorporates a powered air purifying respirator. That's keeping me cool while I'm breathing fresh air, and I'm minimizing exposure to harmful fumes. Implementing these safety measures has significantly improved my work experience. I encourage all welders, new or old, to invest in quality protective gear to safeguard your health and well-being. I've been very fortunate throughout the years that I have not gotten any serious injuries that have been permanent.
That's what happens when you go to take lunch and you come back 30 minutes later, you forget where you left off. I thought I had shown you the finished welds on this, but apparently I didn't. Sorry about that, guys, but you can get an idea of what we're looking at. So I've got it all welded together. I'm real happy how everything came out. Here's the inside. I've ground the inside just a little bit to make sure everything is nice and flush so that there's no edges that catch when the debris gets forced down through it. I just took some masking tape and masked off along the side just to make a crisp line so I could paint it so it doesn't look like it's getting overspray everywhere. I think this is probably a powder coated finish, so the spray paint isn't going to be as good as powder coat, and it's kind of an okay match. I talked about this earlier. Wrapping your corners prevents things from cracking. So that's why I make sure to wrap the corners, because if it's going to crack, it's going to crack in a corner. Now let's check it. Make sure that we are 90 from there to there. Power it up. Zero it. Now we'll put it on the flange. 89.7. And we started out at 89.3, so we're a little bit better than when we got it. And that's the piece we cut out of it. I was pretty close on my estimate. The customer asked how long they thought it would take me. I said probably about 2 hours. It took me 1 hour and 45 minutes. We're right on track. And that's all there is to it, guys. If you like tool build videos, I've got a playlist for that. If you like mobile welding videos, I've got a playlist for that. If you like learn how to weld beginner videos, I've got a playlist for that. Be sure to check out those. There's all kinds of content here for everyone. I want to thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for tuning in. New videos every Friday. And if you're wondering about any of the tools or any of the things that you see me using, I'll have links down below. Until next Friday, I will see you then. Take care, stay safe, and God bless.